Cool.
Yes,
So we're going
Peter
to do
Baldwin.
Peter Baldwin. Yes, I hope he comes. So we've got another not happiness class, marriageability class. Thanks for joining me or co-hosting. Hey, we got Pete. He's jumping in. Hey. Okay. Hi, Pete. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Hello.
Let's do some super quick introductions. I'm a Muslim. I want people to improve their lives, whether they're Muslim or not. We've got Claire, who's agnostic, but believes in spreading the Quranic teachings because they're pretty useful. Would you agree with that, Claire? Is
Yes,
that good
I'd
summary?
say Sharia for non-Muslims is what I propose.
Cool. Yeah, I propose that as well. Sharia for Muslims and non-Muslims. Sharia as in Islamic guidance for life. Strict laws, and there's the softer ones where you should love your mum more than your dad and all that kind of stuff, and be nice to your neighbors, share food with them and stuff like that, and smile at people. And then we got P, a new friend of mine I met this Thursday in a Quran class with all sorts of people who are Muslim and not Muslim, even run by a non-Muslim, where we contemplate and discuss verses of the Quran and how useful they are in day-to-day life. So thank you, Pete. I had a fantastic conversation with you earlier on. I think you're super open to ideas. So thank you, Pete. Do you want to say one or two words about yourself? Although I'm not a big fan of long introductions, but anything you want to say about yourself?
I basically grew up believing in Jesus based on the Hollywood epics, not on the church, like Quo Vadis, The Robe, and Ben-Hur. So I believed in Jesus having a massive effect 2,000 years ago on the whole world. But basically, my religion was based on Jerry Anderson's puppets, Supercar, 5 Stingray, Thunderbirds, and everything to do with that. Because the backstory of a lot of Jerry Anderson's stuff, just like Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, is to me the pattern. Well, it was the pattern for the future: a world federal government based on world peace with an uncorruptible code of morality. And after, tell me to stop if I'm going on too long, but after the assassination of Bobby Kennedy when I was 13, I felt I needed to search for anything that would tell me anything about the return of Christ. So about 6 years later, I found and became a Baha'i. So I believe the Sharia legal code from God is basically the 1873 Book of Laws from Baha'u'llah, the Kitab That's the most holy book. And that's the pattern for the next 800.
Cool. We've got Baha'i number 2 turning up, Payam. He's also from the Quran class that I'm part of. Payam, are you going to be on camera?
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, cool. So also Baha'i, which is you don't call yourself Muslims, but you take the Quran of some value to it. Is there some value of the Quran?
Islam is our parent religion, just like for Christians, Judaism is their parent religion. So, I mean, Christians believe in Moses, but they don't follow Moses. They follow Jesus. So I believe in Muhammad and the Quran and the Imams like Hassan and Hussein and Ali, but I don't follow them. I follow Baha'u'llah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, good to see your face as well, Piyam. It makes it much better. Awesome. Okay, so I want to jump straight into it. Why are Western bulls shrinking? That's a crude way of saying basically testosterone levels are going down, masculinity is going down, and I put some material in the description in terms of maps and stats and stuff to show there is a general trend to support that idea, but there are countries like Indonesia that fit the trend, kind of surprisingly low in testosterone levels there, even though that's like the most popular or most populated Muslim country in the world. So generally fits a pattern. And when I say Western, I'm even talking about Japan, because they kind of, I would say, secular, become more secularized. And so, but on the other hand, it's not just white, because Russia has high levels of testosterone, because I think they're quite traditional. So I think that's the reasoning behind it. That's my claim anyway. So I'm a Muslim, as I said, and I like to give my perspective as a Muslim, why that's happening. I like to give a very short idea, and then we'll go around and talk about this. But the short idea is in Islam, and I've given lots of quotes. I'm not going to quote it all here because I like to be quick about it. Is we have a very patriarchal formation of families where the Quran is very clear that men lead the household. And that enables for something really important. I think it's just a fundamental reason why testosterone levels are going down. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use your masculinity, your leadership, then you lose it. And that's fundamentally true in all areas of biology in terms of muscle, even your brain. You get Alzheimer's if you don't intensely use your brain. And right now, men have lost their position in terms of leadership in family, in guiding people and stuff like that. And so they're losing their testosterone. By the way, testosterone, high levels of testosterone, makes you more acutely able to use your logic and stuff like that. So higher levels of testosterone creates sharper brain activity in terms of logic. And these are all very much in line with the Islamic idea that a man should lead the family because he's more logical, and when he's more masculine, he's sharp in terms of his logic as well. So I think there's a lot of scientific support for it. Let's go around. I mean, Claire hates it when we're too formulaic or something, like everybody has a
Formulaic.
So just did I say Claire? What did I say? Kate or Claire?
Claire.
Claire.
You didn't use my correct name.
Cool. Anyway, so jump in, call out. I've done my kind of brief intro. There's no order. Anybody agree, disagree? I've got some interesting points in Baha'ism as well that I might bring in.
I guess I was
But yeah.
getting ready to follow your usual format of
No usual format.
waiting our turn to speak.
You told me off lots of times about that, so we're not going to do that. Go for it, Claire. Or anybody, just jump in and say whatever you want.
Shall I go? Shall I?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And what will, if you want, interrupt me and show you disagree. I don't mind. I'm saying masculinity needs first to be defined, and I'm saying I would define masculinity as the readiness to defend patriarchal moral values, and by that I mean the patriarchy, and by patriarchy I mean the idea of forbidding and punishing extramarital sex. And that is the only way for you to have patriarchy, because if you don't have that, you have matriarchy, and matriarchy is what you have. And the reason why Khalid is saying that men are losing their testosterone is because they're afraid to speak. They don't know what they're allowed to say any nowadays, so they just keep stum, and then they discover that the less they speak, the more and more of their rights to free speech is being salami sliced away. The only thing that would possibly give them confidence is to have principles that they might want to defend, but because in the West they don't have an official moral system, that means that they have no principles, because principles come from moral principles, which come from religious principles, and Western men haven't got a religion. Officially, it's supposed to be Christianity, but they can't agree on what Christian principles are. So they're in this sort of a no man's land of they're supposed to have some sort of moral system, but they don't know what their moral principles are, and they don't know if it's
cool.
safe.
So I get it. So you're saying there's different we're sort of subjected or victims to bad systems which are emasculating us. So there's a governmental level. We're not being whipped for 100 lashes, as Islam suggests, for being adulterous. That encourages people to be adulterous. And then on top of that, there's no religion, which doesn't, so there's no clear guidance. That's why liberals are so confused about everything. They can't decide on anything clearly. And so if you can't decide on that, you're really lost. And men are really lost at the moment. They need guidance, and they don't know how to be men. They don't know what is a man. And then there's this kind of matriarchy thing. It's like, if you're controlled by, I need sex, I'll do anything women say, then women are in charge, and women are chaotic, they're emotional. That's not a good idea to have women in charge. I think you don't find that sexist. Actually, I am sexist anyway, because that's just sexism is just a form of categorization and understanding the world. So I have no problem with all of those ideas. Is that a fair assessment or summary of what you were saying, Claire?
Oh yes. Thank you for agreeing with me.
Cool. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's the truth, isn't it? As far as I understand. Yeah. And then just my definition, I do want to hear from our new, guests, but my definition is sort of masculinity is very scientific. It's just the effects of high testosterone, which I've listed in the document, in the description below. There's a document in the description below, and it talks about the effects of it. So aggression can have value, which is protection, leadership. So there's a whole list of things: assertiveness, confidence, dominance. These are really important things. Like even in sex, for example, I've listed 6 different things. The number 3 is about sex, like desire and stuff like that. Women, you can tell me, Claire, if you disagree with it. Women, this has been found that women prefer men to be dominant in sex. Sex is an act of dominance, and it's a biological kind of cue for women to show that men are ready to be dads, like to take, because when you impregnate a woman, she becomes sort of compromised physically. She can't do much. Okay, she has little baby dependent on her and stuff like that. So it needs a man to be like clear on his trajectory.
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to
he
work.
wants it.
Sorry, say again.
That he wants it more than she wants it, because it would be very undignified for the woman to be begging the man to have sex with her.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. That's
So
a way of looking at it.
and the woman prefers to be asked and then to agree, rather than to be the one, saying please, please.
Sure, and I think there's biological kind of usefulness in that. Like a woman is somebody, so you have to in any organization, including family, you have to have some sort of somebody in charge and somebody who listens. You can't both be in charge. So a woman by nature, and especially if she follows her nature well, she's agreeable, which is great because somebody has to lead. Okay, and so she's waiting for the man to take the lead, including sex. So sex doesn't work unless you have single-mindedness attitude. Like if you're thinking about different things, you can't be good at sex. If you're not taking the lead, you're not going to be good at sex. These are things that people know. These are studies on sex, so there's all sorts of evidence to say what makes you masculine. I think a really good way of defining what makes a person masculine in the scientific way is just look at what high testosterone levels do. And there are lots of really good things. They can be seen in as a negative thing, like, aggression. But if aggression is used for protection, for example, it's a great thing. So guys, I want to hear from you. Anybody jump in, say something, agree, disagree.
You
Go
wanna
for
go,
it, Pete? Go, both of you at the same time. Go for it. Anybody?
Pete,
After
can
you,
go
I
first.
am, or after you, Pete?
Pete, go for it.
Go on,
Okay.
Pete.
Well, my feeling is that there are 2 elements of this: cultural and biological. And I think the cultural goes very, very deep, and we confuse it with biological because it's assimilated when we're infants from our parents, and we do it by education through copying our parents before our memories or our rational thinking comes in. And it's all cultural. It's been reinforced through education. It's not biology, it's education. It's been reinforced.
So masculinity is just a cultural idea. It's nothing to do with our bodies. Like the fact that men are actually different to him. Okay.
No, I didn't say
So
that.
it's partly biological. To what extent is it cultural? To what extent is biological for you?
Well, biologically, there's the male and the female, which have different functions. The male biological investment in creation is very, very small. It's kind of sperm donor, whereas the woman's investment is massive. 9 months, almost completely, almost disabled in terms of functions by having to carry the baby for 9 months, and then several years of
What
looking
about
up.
man's lifetime spent providing for the children? Isn't
Yeah.
that big enough? That's
Yeah,
pretty big, I would say.
that's economic assistance.
Yes, that's great.
That's not biological. That's economic
Oh, it's
assistance.
definitely. How does economic assistance happen? You do hard work. I think it's wrong. That's what I think. This is my criticism. I'm gonna dive into attacking Baha'ism for the fun of it, right? You know, I'm like,
The Baha'i faith. It's called the Baha'i faith.
oh, the Baha'i faith, right? Okay, it seems to be too liberal for me. You sound like a liberal to me. You
Well,
don't
I am.
sound like
I believe in core essential liberal values, not the distortion and abomination that passes for neoliberalism today. But if you go back in time,
so the Quran is not that. The Quran is very
I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Christian either.
That's
So,
why I think the Baha'is are losing big time. Okay,
well,
so
in the 100 AD in the Roman Empire, the cult of the sun god Mithras was massively more popular than the infant church. It didn't mean they had the future.
sorry, say that again. I missed something. Maybe I didn't
Well, about
understand.
100 AD, in the time of the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
or thereabouts, as far as I understand it, the cult of the sun god Mithras was massively popular in the Roman Empire, whereas the infant church of the Gospel of Jesus was relatively not popular and in a
I see what you're saying.
minority.
Baha'is are not in big in numbers yet, is what you're saying. That's not a way
Exactly,
of.
yeah. It has the future. It has
Oh,
the
no.
future.
Okay. The reason why I'm concerned, I don't know much enough about
Yeah.
Baha'ism, but I'm getting the feel that even though you say Islam is your parent religion, and I'm having this, trying to be difficult because I want some feedback. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Okay. But I'm, my show is not about pulling punches, but at the same time, not being rude for the sake of it, right? Okay. Far more interesting to have a rigorous debate.
The spark of truth cometh forth after the clash of differing opinions.
Exactly. Thank you for putting it better than I can. So I get the feeling that although you say Islam is your parent religion, and I like how Payam is a regular in our Quran classes and discussing the Quran, I'm not sure to what extent you take the Quran seriously, because you need really strict code of ethics. Like, for example, one of the reasons I say that, from our discussion between you and me, Pete, you were talking about how there was some lady who ushered in a new era of the new age, and she whipped off her hijab or something. Who was that lady or something? She's one of the,
she took her veil off her hair. Yeah.
I think that's terrible. There's scientific proof to support that helps women. There's scientific evidence that says that it helps women with their body image issues. I'm going to ask Payam because I want to hear his voice, right? Do you think it's healthy? Because I want to hear to what extent you follow the Quran. Do you believe in a patriarchal family structure and a patriarchal society, as I think the Quran teaches? Beyond.
So some very interesting points and discussions going on. So I'll try and structure my answer. So the first question was, do we believe in the Quran? We take the Quran as an absolute repository of God, meaning word for word. We don't think it's perverted the same way we think it's original from when it was revealed. And at the same time, we follow the values in the Quran. So there's two aspects in the Quran that we'll see. One is that it says men and women are equal spiritually. So when women pray to God and men pray to God, it has the same effect. And we have this concept in the Baha'i faith. But there's one thing in the Quran that slightly differs from the Baha'i faith, and that is that in the Quran it says that men have responsibility of the women. So we can all agree with that. That says in the Quran. However, in the Baha'i faith, because of our theology, because of the way we believe in progressive revelation, so we believe that in every era and age, God brings a messenger of God to reveal a new message. We believe that humanity has progressed to a point and matured where men and women are completely equal in society now. So we believe that back then
Okay.
maybe
You don't
So-
support the patriarchal society. And I want Claire not to say stuff just in the chat, which is nice, but I want you go on, have a go at Piyam if you want to, because I don't think you agree with that.
Well, we were having a go at each other about the divinity of Baha'i scripture, and I'm saying, just saying it's from the writings of the Bab, which is their prophet. I mean,
And Baha'u'llah.
Baha'u'llah's our prophet. The Bab was the forerunner to the Baha'i faith. So
Right.
Baha'u'llah is the founder of the prophet, the founding prophet of the Baha'i faith. So if you
Right.
let me finish my point, then you'll see where we're
Okay,
going.
sorry, go on. And then Claire, please have a
Hmm.
go on video, not just in the comments. Maybe it's also in the comments, but I'm gonna wait for you to have a go at Piyam. I'm gonna hold back for a little bit. Go for it, Piyam.
So we do say that men and women are equal in society. This is what Baha'is believe, but we also believe that men and women have different responsibilities. Obviously, if we look at the strength of women compared to men, it's not the same. So women and men take different responsibilities in society, but this concept where men is, has to look after women is kind of that understanding has changed. We do have this concept where we believe that work is worship in the Baha'i faith. So when you go to work, it's a form of worshiping God, having a work. And Baha'u'llah goes as far as saying that being a housewife equates to work. So actually being at home and raising children is the same as work. So it's worshiping
Same
God.
as Islam, yeah.
Yeah, but also it says that the opposite was also okay. So if the man stays at home and looks after the children, and the woman goes to work, that is also is applicable. And so there's this concept that spiritually and intellectually, men and women are the same. And actually, it goes as far as to say that women are more spiritually susceptible than men are when it comes to spirituality, which is very interesting.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
And in fact, Abdul Baha says that if more women were in positions of power, war would be completely abolished from the world.
That'd be
This is
terrible.
something that our theology believes. So these are the slight differences between Islam and the Baha'i faith, is that we have this concept of, as you say, we have this progression of what we believe that society is continually progressing.
Claire, okay, please jump in. You think that's progression, women being leaders? Do you think women should be leaders?
Although I enjoyed the time when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of Britain, I've come to realise that it wasn't. It only paved the way ahead for really terrible prime ministers like Theresa May and Liz Truss. So I do think it's a good idea because, unfortunately, men being the gallant people they are will sort of say, oh, but she's a woman, what do you expect, she was frightened, she was on a period, so I'm saying don't have women because they have a long list of excuses that they're going to use when things go wrong. So don't even let them anywhere near power in the first place, because they're going to get things wrong, and then they're going to have their long excuses, and then you'll have to let them off again.
Yeah, because we don't take women seriously, do we? In reality, in day-to-day experience, no man really takes a woman that seriously. Let me explain. I don't think any man does in reality, because we like you said, we make a lot of excuses. Just like we don't take, if a child says something wrong, and I am comparing women somewhere between a man and a child, right? We let them go because they're emotional, whatever, and we love that of women. We love that they're emotional, okay, and that's fine. Okay, we don't take them seriously. If they say something that's not logical, it's okay. If they get upset and get whatever, I don't know, that kind of stuff, we just don't take it too seriously. And I don't think any man in practice does. Like I'm at work and there's I open a door and then the woman goes, oh, I'm shocked that the door opened. Like, I'm talking about, like, it's like, okay, no, nobody goes, what's wrong with you? They just realize that's a woman, right? Just getting shocked for no reason. That kind of stuff. Are you appalled by what I'm saying, Pete? I hope you are. That would be interesting. But
it just sounds Victorian. It sounds
oh, that's good
antediluvian.
because the
Sounds
Victorians
like-
probably got something
sounds,
right.
Anti-progressive.
Oh, good, because progressive sometimes is actually regressive in reality. If you think
Well,
about
absolutely, yeah. When
But
progress,
the Victorian.
can I just finish what I'm saying? When progress is given a bad name by political undermining it, for example, people have a good go at socialism all the time. But if you, to my reading of history is that whenever there's a grassroots democratic socialist government that comes up from the grassroots, it is deliberately, ruthlessly undermined by the business interests. So it's no wonder socialism always fails, because the business community destroys it from within using sabotage and undermining it and so on. So the same with liberal progress. Liberal progress has been sabotaged by nefarious, immoral interests to give it a bad name. And that's, I think, it's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my reading of what's been going on in history in the last few decades.
Claire, what were you going to say?
Well, I was saying the Victorian age represents the zenith of British imperial achievement. If you're going to, measure the achievement of the British Empire, it was at its most expansive. That was when they literally had an empire on which the sun never set.
Based
and
on
then it
what
started
morality?
to decline.
Based on what morality? Nothing.
Well, I
Christian
suppose they
values.
would say Christian morality, because at the time,
No, I don't think it was based on Christian morality. I think any claim that it was based on Christian morality is a fig leaf to cover up all the capitalist, brutal exploitation of the rest of the world in a very kleptocratic, selfish way, and
I think it was a bit of both.
nationalistic way.
I think it was a
Sorry?
bit of
well,
both.
I kind of want to stand up for the British Empire in that we have now the third global Anglo-Saxon empire, and there are always advantages to empire. Yes, there will be subjects people who will be, looted and raped and abused and exploited. But at the height of any empire is ease of transport, ease of communication, and I think this represents the ideal conditions for the spread of Islam.
But I'm going to quickly say the argument in support of imperialism, okay, is that if you have stronger values, then your society is stronger and you dominate other societies. It's kind of like and other societies who don't have strong values, they become weak and they get overtaken as a sort of survival of the fittest. It's not all great, it's not perfect, but there is some kind of demonstration of values. And at the Victorian times, they had lots of industry, they were creating lots of things, they were more powerful, more innovative, they made all the rail tracks in India and stuff like that. They were more, advanced, and therefore they won for a while, but they abused it. And it wasn't just, I agree with Pete that it wasn't just pure, there wasn't exactly Christian values, but there were some Christian values. And I think at the heart of them are family values. I'm going to put a quick question to Piyam. You said it's okay for men to work, be house husbands, right? I think that's a disastrous idea. Statistically, you're 3 times more likely to get divorced if you're a house husband, because it goes against the fundamentals of biology, which is women want men to lead. Okay, I've already talked about testosterone, high testosterone levels make you a leader. Women, and it's even formed into the act of sex itself. Everything about biology is saying men should lead. What do you think about that statistic? You're 3 times more likely to get divorced if you're a house husband.
Listen, it's not like it's set in stone, but listen, everyone has a different reality. So it might be the case. Oh my
God, you sound like a liberal. Oh my God.
It might be the case that you can let me finish. So it might be the case that majority of the men go to work, the women like to stay home and raise the children. But you also have this concept that the mothers are the first educators. So the point is that mothers will be the first educators of your children, and that should definitely be priority. And in most cases, you'll find that that's the case. Then when the mother stays at home, raises the kid, the man goes to work. But there are other situations where, it depends on the consultation of the family. If the man stays at home because there's a need for it, we can't judge every situation because every situation is very different in society. And like all this talk about the way society is run, like the Victorian Empire is one example of how things are run. But if we look at the Persian Empire, many, many years before that, the Persian Empire was ruling almost half the world at that point.
Mhm.
Did you know that majority of the diplomats were actually female in power? Did you know majority of the institutions are actually female? When the first
Are you sure that's
human
not on the decline or something? I don't know about the
no,
history.
no, this was the zenith of the Persian Empire. When the
No.
first Declaration of Human
When it was
Rights came,
Zoroastrian before it became Islamic, do you mean, Payam?
yeah, so when the first Declaration of Human Rights came, the institutions, the majority of them were female. Obviously, you had the King of Kings, like Darius and that, the kings, but the women were really in power at that point. They were running the empire, and so there was a mixture of different genders in play there. So I don't think it's necessarily right to say that men should be running society and females should step back, because I feel like the dynamics of responsibilities of male and female, both of these have to be in play for society to advance. There's a really nice quote by Bible how it says that men and women are two wings of one bird, and they both need to work for it to fly. So if one wing isn't working, society will not advance. And this is really important because in history you will find places where women were really in power and moving forward with society. And so when we look at Western culture, I believe there's a lot of discrimination going in the past. And if we actually look at a lot of the inventions
What
that
kind of discrimination?
well, look 200 years ago, if women had an inclination of a thought or an opinion or did something that was clever, they were classed as witches and they were burnt at the stake.
And
This is
even
the
in,
kind of
can I jump in? Even in Victorian times, the
Yeah.
rights of women in Victorian England were less than the rights given to women in the Koran by Muhammad before it all went belly up
Property
100
rights,
years
yeah.
later.
And can I just point a fact out that as soon as women became emancipated society in general, look how far we've advanced with technology, with society, with rational thinking, with the way things are run. We've advanced so much in the last 200 years than it ever did before that. And this is half
Well,
of this.
thanks to women.
That a lot of it is due to the emancipation of women. If you look at some of the inventions that were created by women, they pioneered society.
Hedy Lamarr, the
The
Hollywood actor.
first programmer, the first bit of code was done by a female.
Oh, come on.
No,
Do you know
the
I'm a
reason-
coder, right? You can struggle to
So am
find
I.
a good
I'm a software developer. I have been. So why we're sitting here is because women, one of the first women to provide the algorithms we needed was done. It was female.
What
The
was her
males,
name?
the males also got involved. I can't remember her name. I'll find it for you.
Okay.
Was it Hedy
Women-
Lamarr, the Hollywood actress? She had tons of inventions under her belt.
Yeah, and I don't think women should debase themselves. I think women have an extremely important
I'm
role
not
to play
saying
in
that.
society.
I'm saying
No, I
it.
just feel like maybe Claire is maybe.
No, I'm saying
That's my
women
point.
shouldn't talk in public. They shouldn't work. They're much better suited to sticking to the family. Is a very important, far more valuable use of their time because they're less logical. They get emotional, and it's better if men do that.
I think that's educational, cultural.
No, I think that's based on experience. So we know that statistically, women are less interested in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These are very logical things. Women are less interested in that. They're less interested in how the world works.
Yeah, but
If
how
you
much
talk
of
to the
that is
average woman,
cultural indoctrination by society
That's-
saying, well, you're
how
not
do you
interested in that?
prove that? I think it's based on biology. It's easier to prove it's based on biology because, first of all, you have to. If you believe that we're fine-tuned animals, then therefore our brains are attuned
No,
to
I
our
don't believe we are
bodies.
fine-tuned animals.
Sorry?
I don't believe we are fine-tuned animals. You know, there was a quote from Yuval Noah Harari, which I came up with, which
Oh my
I
God,
found,
he's a
which was
disaster.
horrible. He
He
said
wants
that
us to turn
mankind.
into... Okay, go on.
He
Yeah,
said
go
that
on.
mankind is now a hackable animal.
Oh yeah,
And
I hate
all
that guy.
concepts,
Not hate, but,
of soul, spirit, free will have disappeared. No, not on my watch. as far as I'm concerned, we are all extremely powerful, potentially spiritual beings, women equally to men, if not more so. And that it's a question of education, bringing that potential out of people, which is there inside. I believe that the high revelation is the best way to do that. And it will come about in time. I feel that the current mainstream culture is essentially competitive. It's based on a philosophy of materialism, of survival of the fittest, of the law of the jungle. And morally, it's like Planet of the Apes. And we need to turn that retrogression back into the, well, there was a little bit of progress in the 1960s. I mean, it was sabotaged, unfortunately, by about 1975 completely. But I think there was some idealism and positive ideas in the 60s which came out, and we need to get back to that.
Yeah.
So men and women should have the same roles according to Baha'i.
No, not the same roles, different roles. Well,
same opportunities.
Can you say clearly what their different roles are? Somebody,
they're not totally different. For example, I did a civil service course in empowering myself as a man, and they pointed out if you do a bell curve, you know, a binomial theorem,
bell curve, normal distribution,
a lot of traits of what this trait is like in women, what this trait is like in women. It's not two curves like that. It's two curves like that, slightly displaced,
overlap,
but there's a huge amount of overlap. So I think the ways in which men and women are different, biologically, it's significant, I agree. But culturally, I don't think there's much there. And I think the huge division of labor between men and women, which we see in mainstream old world order society up till the modern age, has been due to massive generation after generation reinforcement and intensification of differences due to the law of the jungle, due to the heartless, soulless, relentless logic of biological evolutionary biology. And I think when you impose an intelligent morality, code of morality, you know, like 1500 years ago, the best that there was the code of morality from the Quran. And now we've got a new set of moral laws and foundational concepts in the Kitabi Akdas. I think when you apply the divine revelation of God to the heartless, relentless logic of evolutionary biology, you can, to some extent, improve mankind beyond the law of nature into the realm of supernature. For example, Paul in the New Testament talks about the gospel of Jesus will, to some extent, liberate you from the slavery to nature. And I think that's true. When we take evolutionary biology and what is determined by biology and subject to divine morality, a divine code of morality from divine revelation, it's almost like changing the concept of a human being from being a human body, physical animal, with a spiritual soul to saying, no, I'm a spiritual soul using my physical body as a vehicle. So the modus operandi changes from animal materialism to spiritual control and empowerment.
Okay, let me ask this question. First, I'll ask Piyam, just as clear, as short as possible answer if possible, Piyam. What are the different roles of men and women according to Baha'i faith? You're muted. And we will finish at 8, by the way. I saw your message, Piyam. That's our intention. So Piyam, so yeah, go for it.
So, you know, the point of what the Baha'is say is that there should be equal opportunities for men and women. But the roles in society can differ. Like you can have men and women, for example, in software engineering roles. But you'll find that women are maybe more suited to some areas of society. And
no, but it's Baha'i faith say, "Oh, you women do this," like the Quran does.
No, there's no compulsion to do anything. Like, okay, women, you go do this; men, you go do that. But
it does. What is the this and that? That's why I'm intrigued comparing it to.
It doesn't say that, but it does say that women are the first educators. So mothers, and it does say that if an opportunity arises for children to be educated, and only one child, for example, out of the siblings can go to school, it should be the female first and not the males. So these are the Baha'i teachings, because the women are the ones that are the first educators in society, and so
It doesn't
these
sound
are
like
the
it's in line
guidance.
with this traditional Islamic ideas. Would you say it's in line with
No,
traditional or Quranic Islamic
but
ideas?
then, Khaled, you know, if you say to a Christian, "Are you following the laws of Moses and the Torah?" They say no.
Okay, so no, the answer is no.
The law of the Torah has been superseded by the gospel.
That's
Not
right. That's okay. That's
completely,
okay.
but
So you're not patriarchal like the Quran,
no,
Quranic
no.
teachings, and I would say that's a big loss. It's not in line with biology, right? Can I ask another question to both of you? I kind of know the answer, but I want to. But it's kind of leading, but you can push back and give me a better answer. Like, how old are you? Are you married? How many kids do you have? And generally, the Baha'i people, to what extent does the system encourage do you have a lot of children, you guys? So Piyam, because I don't know about you.
Um,
I think I know
I'm,
you're engaged. That's what I know.
I'm engaged. I'm not married yet. But
How old are
I'm
you?
35. So,
Okay, would you say that's young or old?
Baha'is are encouraged to marry young, actually.
Good.
So you can consider me older.
That's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, I know, like, my cousins, they married young. They're Baha'is. One cousin has 3 children. The other one has 4 children.
Excellent.
Some Baha'is have 1 children. It really depends on the reality of the family. But yeah, it's extremely encouraged, actually, to get married in the Baha'i faith. So the
Good.
union.
What in the Baha'i faith says that? Because actually, when I debate, I don't like if I have a Christian who I'm debating, I'll be like, I want them to win because they're my brothers and sisters in humanity. So I go like, listen to those hardcore Christian teachings that support
Well, it
family
comes from
values.
Baha'u'llah. It's actually in the most holy book, the Kitab Aqdas, which is our book of
Yeah.
law. It encourages marriage, and it says, in fact, it's a divine institution. So marriage
Cool.
itself is divine.
And it's a
And so
fortress of well-being and salvation.
Exactly. So Baha'u'llah is a
Fantastic.
fortress
Now
of
I'm going to
well-being.
go for Pete. Pete is a fortress. Did you hear that about marriage? It's a fortress of, what did you say, Pete?
Well-being and salvation, according to Baha'u'llah, yeah.
What are you going to do about getting yourself married, Pete? Therefore,
well, the first thing I had to do was to get myself off a lethal addiction to NHS tranquilizers, which I was on for 46 years, from the age of 20 to 65. So the first thing I did was I was given access to some Baha'i medical experts who gave me access to aloe vera gel and megavitamin therapy. It still took me 14 years, from 2007 to 2021, to get off these drugs. But now I'm off them, and I've been clean for 2 years. So for me, it's 1978, and I'm 23. I am now, to a certain extent, fit to be married. But the trouble is, I'm out of time because I'm 68. I've got much time left. So it seems to me that, I mean, you could say, well, why did I get addicted to tranquilizers in the first place? You'd have to ask the people who created that situation.
But now, do you feel a moral imperative, a spiritual imperative to do your best to get married because it's the right thing to do? That's what I'm asking for right now. Because
no,
I think
I feel my imperative to get married is because I am insanely in love with someone. So I'm trying to improve myself so that she'll.
Are you insanely in love with somebody right now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for the last 18 years.
Good
So I hope that if I can improve myself sufficiently, she might actually think, even though I am 68, I'm worth taking a chance on. And that's not necessarily very likely.
That's what I ask for people to be, go for it, because as you're kind of my uncle, right? I want, because you're a bit older, I'm 43, you're 60, what? 61?
68.
68. Wow. Okay. You look younger, right? Okay. So I don't want you to be alone at your deathbed.
No, nor me.
Exactly. There's too many people, like, I can't even encourage them to get married, right? That's my number one thing.
No, I believe
Claire, what have you got to say about?
Well, I was just wondering if Pete's love interest is available to marry him, or is she spoken for?
I don't know quite. I hope that she's available, and I hope that perhaps one of the factors
Is she
is
Baha'i?
yes, and lack.
Good.
One of the problems might be, and I'm just guessing, it might be that she just doesn't. She's not interested in me. It might be that she is, but she can't do anything about it because there's a lack of parental consent, which is necessary in the Baha'i community. That might be the problem.
How old is she?
How old is she?
Yeah.
48.
48. Okay, cool. And she has a living dad, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So just ask.
So, you know, whether the situation will ever be resolved is unlikely. But I'm
What do you
hoping.
mean? Why would it not be? Okay, isn't there like, okay, I'm an Ahmadi Muslim. There's all this marriage system to get people married, and we've got a community. I don't know I want you to get hitched as soon as possible, right? Get married
Yeah,
as soon as possible.
I would get married at the drop of a hat. But
Great.
if
Why
parental
would this
consent
not
isn't
be
forthcoming,
unresolved? Why would this be? Because this is a very practical live
well,
stream.
I
We don't
have very
talk to you.
limited information about the situation. So a lot of what I know about the situation is purely guesswork.
Okay, how long have you been in love with this lady?
18 years.
What the hell? And you still don't even know like where she lives? You haven't approached her dad? Anything?
I have done what I can, which is not.
I think maybe.
Okay, what am I getting
something-
wrong, Piyam? Maybe I need an attitude check. Come on, Piyam, tell me what
So-
isn't there a system in the Piyam thing? I mean the Baha'i thing to sort him out, sort P
So, I
out.
mean, for me, I think this is these matters are quite personal. I mean, if Pete's happy to talk about it, that's fine. But everyone's situation is different, and we have friends he can consult with. He has friends he can consult with, and if he wants help, he will reach out. If there is someone that
Give Piyam a shout.
interested in.
Well,
Yeah,
does
Piyam,
this woman know you're fond of her, Pete?
Sorry.
Does this woman know that you're fond
Oh,
of
she's
her?
perfectly aware of my feelings. Yeah.
Okay. So Piyam, give your uncle some advice. What does he do next to sort himself out? This is very important. Well, I can't remember what you called it in Baha'i faith. It's a kind of a fortress of something divine,
Fortress
blah
for
blah blah.
well-being and salvation.
Exactly. So Piyam, don't you want him to have this fortress of well-being and salvation? Are you not going to help him out in the next step?
I mean, but I'm not there to force any kind of.
We're not
help or
forcing
anything. So
anybody.
Pete
He
himself
wants to get married.
Pete himself has to reach out to those friends that he's comfortable with, if he wants
Okay,
to progress the
you know
situation.
how to approach the dad. What's wrong? What's wrong with approaching dad? This
There's
lovely
nothing
lady's
wrong with
dad.
approaching him, but you know, as he said to me, Pete, you know the rules, and the rules are if he withholds consent, and he has a lot of very practical reasons to do so, given my age, my history, my potential, and so on, my lack of skills in certain areas.
Okay,
So I couldn't possibly criticize him saying no.
well, that's fine. I asked some lady, an 8-year-old girl's dad, the other day. He said, "No, I'll move on to the next person. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not
well,
bothered."
that is an option. I
That's
could
what
give
you
up
need to do.
and choose somebody else. I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Oh, you don't want to?
She,
I'm really against falling in love. Actually, I think that's
well, I mean,
kind
I'm a
of,
Westerner,
what's it
so I
called?
believe in
Idol
Hollywood
worship?
romance. You know,
No, I
so
don't believe in that.
well, that's understandable for someone from
Yeah.
the East. You're not subject. You haven't been brought up with Hollywood like I have. But
I have. I'm a Westerner, brought up in all sorts of stupid Hollywood movies.
I believe in
I
Hollywood.
wean myself off it slowly.
Well, you're entitled to do that if you want.
For my own
but
good. There's lots of study to say. I mean, more people are
I don't
realizing
believe in
romantic
empirical
ideas
science.
are stupid.
Empirical science is written by Nazi Fourth Reich fascists, so I don't believe in empirical science largely.
What?
No, I don't believe in it. I think a lot of
I've never heard of that.
Well,
Okay.
I think a lot of Western empirical science is just propaganda put out there.
Yeah,
to
what do you think about
distort the real
romance?
science. Sorry?
Is it just me who slowly learnt that romance is a silly idea and you have to be practical,
No.
and that love is something that develops? Okay, I say there's no such thing as love before you're married, because love is an act, And love is what you do over a period of time where you patiently are kind, even though you find your wife annoying at times, because everybody is annoying. You're annoying, your wife is annoying. That's the reality of life, right? Romance is telling a lie that you're going to have a happily ever after as soon as you get married. That's what happens in Hollywood movies, but disastrous for real life relationships. Okay, so I want to hear from Claire. What do you think about that point of view?
What about life
My
not being a rom-com, and we should get out of that expectation?
Yeah, like love. Yeah, love is not a rom-com.
Life
Yeah,
is not a romantic, a Hollywood
comedy.
rom-com.
Yeah, it's
Mm. But perhaps Peters isn't really that serious about marrying her. It's a nice
Agreed.
idea to entertain, but not to risk too much of your peace of mind, to risk anything
Yeah,
much.
totally agree.
You know,
Great analysis. 18 years and you haven't done anything about it. Don't believe
What?
that you're
I
serious.
try to do as much as I can, but I
Tell me
have
the list
limited.
of things you've done. List the
Well,
things
it
you've
took me
done in 18
14
years.
years to get off an addiction to
I think-
lethal
Oh.
toxic
I think maybe this,
tranquilizers. That was the first priority.
I
I've
think
done
this is
that.
very
Sorry?
personal.
I
think this is
finished
very
that
personal.
2 years ago. So now, what I do next? Well, I have to wait for cues, which are not forthcoming at the moment, to get over there and see what else I can do. But, I went over there last summer. There was very few, if any, cues to do anything further. So I can't really do anything at the moment until I get indications that things have changed. And maybe
It does worry me that why is this 48-year-old woman not married? Does she have any kids? Was she divorced or what?
I think
well,
these
I admitted to some mutual friends that really I don't know her that well. So I don't know much, and she's very private, not like me, splitting, shouting about everything at the rooftop, from the rooftops all the time.
Exactly, on live
She
streams
probably
like me
finds
as
that
well.
quite annoying, I think.
I
But
think
she's very, very private and cagey about.
Fionn, concerned about something. Fionn, what are you concerned about right now?
so. I think these are very personal matters. I think
Yeah.
whatever people
That's
go
what we're saying
through,
in public.
yeah, it's between them and God. I mean, I don't think this should be done on a live stream. We can have this offline conversation about Pete, but obviously, everyone has their challenges. I've had my challenges. Pete's had his challenges. I'm sure you and Claire and others and everyone has their challenges in life around these kind of situations. So I think, whatever happens, as long as we have faith in God, we have our prayers, we have faith, things will move forward and progress. So if we are with a pure heart seeking God's guidance, then God will guide us in the right direction. And I think that's
Okay,
the main
in
point.
the last 6 minutes, something we've totally failed on is answer Claire's 4 questions that we're supposed to answer every show. Let's whiz through them. What is the nature and purpose of marriage? I would say it's for men and women to meet their biological roles. So if you have sexual organs, they're supposed to be used, but also they kind of create a whole new reality for adults, like family life, responsibilities, so many things surrounding following your biological urges properly. That's my very brief answer. Anybody want to jump in with an idea of what is the purpose and nature of marriage? Anyone want to tell me?
Yeah, I can share, unless Claire wants to go first.
I'm going to be very short about it. I'm saying it's for the purpose of legitimate children and to replace ourselves before we go.
Cool.
Yeah, in the Baha'i faith, that's definitely one reason, is that we raise our offspring. Another reason is that if we look at the purpose of life, is to develop ourselves spiritually in character, and it's to get closer to God. And marriage is one form, that forming a family unit to practice our spiritual values, to practice our understanding society. And service starts with our family, then it moves out in society. And that's one of the other reasons of marriage. And it's very important.
I think that's I talked about the biological role, but it entails lots of spiritual things. Like people find it hard to be married. Why? Because it involves lots of spiritual skills, like being patient, being kind. It's very,
Patience,
very
kindness. You learn more about yourself. You know, I've had people say that
commitment.
I thought I was generous until I got married, and my wife would tell me I'm not generous. And so these
Yeah,
are the kind of things people learn about
yeah,
each other. So
fantastic.
yeah, it's a training ground. It's a spiritual training
Brilliant.
ground. Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to jump into the next one because I'm going to end at 8 o'clock. How to be marriageable. I would say to be clear about your role as a leader. If you're a man, and if you're a woman, your role as the carer of the household and obedient. You can't be both leaders. That makes you marriageable. If you're not that, you're just good. Your marriage is destined for a car crash. You can't have two people at the steering wheel. Any opinions?
Well, it says in the Baha'i writings that sometimes the husband should defer to the wife, and sometimes the wife should defer to the husband. So, I think in a more Baha'i progressive kind of frame of mind, it is a dual partnership where, in some areas, the wife is in charge and has the responsibility. Sometimes, in other areas, the man has. But in general, it's a partnership where they have an equal stake and equal power in the relationship to carry it forward, and they're working together.
Okay,
Yeah.
how to be lovable is the next question, and I would say we're lovable by our attributes. So, for example, being masculine is actually a biological marker in a way. You're demonstrating to a woman, like, I'm ready to lead. You want me to lead? I'm ready to lead. If I'm going to act like a girl, as a man, that's not attractive because women are already weak. They want a strong person to lead. Okay, that kind of stuff. So, if you're a man, being masculine. If you're a woman, follow your feminine traits. That makes you attractive through thousands of years of evolutionary kind of guidance built
I
into
can
you.
give you one example where that is palpably not the case. Mrs. Thatcher was the best man that the Tory party had in 1979, and her cabinet of men adored her. So the idea that men do not like strong women, I think, is a myth, a lie, a fallacy, which mainstream society puts out there, which is a complete load of rubbish. And as I aspire to be a little bit like my grandfather, Victor Rose, who was a gentleman, born in about 1894. So I feel that I am a little bit more in touch with my feminine side than a lot of the toxic male stereotypes. And I am attracted to Amazons. I am attracted to fierce, feisty Amazon warrior princesses like Xena, or Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, or Ellen Ripley as Sigourney Weaver. So I have no problem with strong women, and I think I'm looking for that kind of strong woman as a partner.
As your brother, I
You
recommend
despair of
going
it.
near them.
You despair.
So
Disaster
I
in
think
real life
just
outside
to
Hollywood.
add to this, like the different dynamics. I said, like, both of you have valid points. I don't think anyone's wrong here. But there's one very important thing we have to remember about being lovable, is that we have this concept of triangle in the Baha'i faith. You have a triangle. God is at the top. The male's there and the female's here. So as you get close to God, you get closer to each other.
Like a
I
capital
agree with that.
Yeah.
capital
100%.
So
Yeah.
as long as you have remembrance of God in your marriage, as long as there's a spiritual foundation, that lovability will increase day by day. And I think that's a very important factor.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's evidence. People who are more godly have better relationships. Cool.
Absolutely. There's statistics that the marriages that last are the spiritual ones. The ones
100%.
that are spiritual.
I said we'll leave at 8. We'll leave the last question. People can answer it in the comments, which is, what should government do to make marriages last? My thing would be just like, don't give women loads of money for getting divorced. This is, definitely not. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed both of you. I hope you both come on again. That was awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks, Claire,
Thanks,
as well. Bye.
Nice to meet you, Claire. Thanks, guys.
Nice to meet you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you.